Let's start with the Emmys. And Dave, did you watch the Emmys?
No, I was away and on West Coast time, so I did not watch the Emmys. I would have if I had been around, but I obviously checked in on what happened and for the most part saw that our predictions were pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we I don't feel like we predicted anything too out there, and that this year ended up being a lot of chalk, a lot of the same shows getting many awards, which kind of makes for a bit of a boring night. But I think there were still some moments. Maybe some not so great things that we'll touch on. But I guess where do you want to start? What stood out most to you from the award show?
Yeah, I mean the big headline is that Netflix beats HBO in the total wins category for the first time. They had been slightly more nominated a few times at this point, but HBO has always been at the top. But Netflix wins 44 total Emmys across all the nights, tying the single year Emmy record set by CBS in 1974. And in the process of doing this, Netflix gets its first win for a series category, its first two in that Best Limited Series, Queen's Gambit, and Best Drama, The Crown. And obviously, all the millions on millions, billions really, of content spent at Netflix for years now, they have the top prizes of the Emmys have still eluded them. And that is no longer the case. Now, whether you think Netflix will continue this trend or HBO will, of course, rise back to its rightful place at the top, depends how you think about it. But I think that's the biggest headline because that's new. That's something different.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, and I guess in thinking about the big awards that were won by Netflix, Halston, Ewan McGregor getting the upset
Yeah,
over Paul Bettany stands out. But I'm trying to think, like I guess Queen's Gambit obviously is the one that stands out most there. What other shows won awards from Netflix? Someone
it's
I
The
just
Crown.
didn't
The
watching is The
Crown just
Crown,
won a
right?
shit ton of
Yeah,
shit.
the one I kept missing. Yeah, so I think that's a good question, right? Because my first thought was, is it that the shows this year are better? Is it that more shows with more variety are getting nominated? But yeah, it sounds like it's just really one prestige show that just kind of like swept everything.
Yeah,
Um, it's an interesting question. I lean towards probably not because I think Netflix has just been so far ahead in the content producing aspect of streaming, and with other prestige or hopefully prestige shows on the way, such as uh, the Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings spin-off
mm,
from Amazon that's down the line, more Game of Thrones
yeah.
content coming back. You expect that to be high level. I don't think it's going to corner the market the way that The Crown did this year. I don't foresee that. Do you?
No, I mean it's important to remember that there was no Better Call Saul or Euphoria or Succession in the mix this year. No Barry, no
Right.
Atlanta on the comedy side. Um, And also, you just think about what Netflix does. Like Ozark will be back, Stranger Things will be back for final seasons, and they've been nominated in top categories before. But other than that, like Netflix is an all things to all people company when it comes to what they make. Prestige is just a certain piece of that, whereas Prestige is everything FX does and everything
Yeah.
HBO does. So it's just probably just not wise to bet on it continuing for Netflix just because that's not their sole game. That's not those aren't their goals. So it's nice to see The Crown get honored after a long run still ongoing. It's impressive that it's able to turn over its ensemble cast multiple times and not
Hmm.
miss a beat. This operates on such a high level for really everything it does, and definitely deserving to be the first best drama for Netflix. I have no problem with that. And same for best limited series for Gambit, even if it wasn't my choice in the category. We talked in our predictions episode that the category was incredibly stacked. You really couldn't go wrong with whoever did end up winning.
Hmm. Yeah. Gambit had a pretty big night, and I think people were happy about that. Probably I would say probably the show that I've heard most of our friends or people in my
Mhm.
circle have watched and really enjoyed, at least out of the ones that were nominated. Some other cool wins that I just want to shout out: Michaela Cole getting a writing
Yeah,
award, giving I think a really powerful and
had to happen.
yeah, really great speech. Gene Smart getting best lead in a comedy series for Hacks, which long time coming for her. I think you predicted Julianne Nicholson getting the Mayor of Easttown win.
Yeah, that one's funny to me because the way I talked about it last week was that do you see Netflix winning twice? Sorry, do you see Disney and specifically Marvel winning two acting awards? Because it was favored that Catherine Hahn would win for supporting limited series and Paul Bettany would win for lead limited series. And it turns out they lost both of those categories, not just one, because of course, as you said, Ewan McGregor upsets Paul Bettany as well. So didn't call it all the way, but Marvel Marvel got some nominations. They showed up and they got nothing. And you know what? You know what they do get? They get a lot of people watching their shit. They make a lot of money. So don't cry over any spilled milk.
I don't think anyone's crying for Marvel at this point. In just kind of looking through here, I mean, what else stands out? Ted Lasso obviously had a big night. Um, Shout
Didn't
out
fall
Jason
effectively
Sudeikis.
as we had said.
Yeah. Olivia Coleman, always delightful whenever she gets up
Mm,
there and gets to make
yeah,
a speech.
bit of a surprise. We kind of all assumed Emma Corrin was going to win, especially because Olivia Colman had previously lost her first time around as the queen. Of course, without Zendaya in the fold, Coleman once again rises to the top as an awards darling.
Yeah.
So always a bit foolish to bet against her when she's up for it. Um, you mentioned Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso winning Best Comedy Series. That means Apple wins a top prize in only its second year of operation. Thinking about how Apple started off with a bunch of shows top lined by the morning show. I don't think anyone saw like grand Emmy success happening so quick. And maybe Ted Lasso is truly just a flash in the pan, bit of a fluke for Apple. Remains to be seen on that. But they got a lot of other stuff in the pipe, like the big sci-fi adaptation Foundation's about to come out. So Apple's not slowing down. And if anything, this might just embolden them. You know what? We can keep spending the money on content. Why not? Again, the money is no object to us, and we're already finding success.
Hey, I don't hate it. As people of this show know, big Ted Lasso fans. So keep putting more and more money into creating some good content for us. Dave, anything else that you want to touch on with the Emmys? Anything that stood out?
Um, I mean, I feel like people kind of already assumed this, but it's a true changing of the guard. This is the first time all top three series prizes were all won by a streaming service. Obviously, Apple, Netflix, and Netflix. I honestly thought that had happened already. I knew Netflix hadn't won it, but kind of funny to see that not happen. But yeah, now with Netflix and Apple getting in the mix, they join Hulu and Amazon. So all the top streaming dogs have won the top prizes already. So I think betting on who's next to get in that mix. Do you think a Paramount Plus original gets to the top first? That's probably going to be fun.
Yeah,
After all, there were nominations for Quibi in short form. So but yeah, all the big dogs finally have won something big. But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
and I think the last note I have is the Emmy ratings did jump up a considerable amount past 2020, which is to be expected because I think, as we've said, as many people have said, everything was down in 2020, and it was pandemic related more than anything else. Obviously, award show appetite is not what it once was, but nice to see a bounce back in interest in some respect.
yeah. And I think we should just note real quick, some of the criticism of the show
Mm,
and of the awards of the night, specifically the winners of all the major acting categories being
right.
white males or females. And this just continues to be a issue at these award shows that people of diverse backgrounds not really getting, or diverse identities, I should say, not really getting the
Yeah.
recognition that they deserve.
Yeah, and in this case, it's quite I don't know, interesting, unique, new that it was a very diverse field of
Mhm.
nominees. Too, but in the day, a lot of the big categories ended up going to white people. Ended up going to performers in this year playing uh, British royalty. Something tried and true when it comes down to that. And Michael K. Williams, we kind of expected him to win. His final
Mhm.
chance, Lovecraft Country. Again, the voting happened before he passed, but he was the favorite going in. He ends up not winning. Tobias Menzies wins because it's just a juggernaut night for the crown. And you know, like Michaela Cole not winning but it's in place of Kate Winslet. It's not that Kate Winslet is uh, undeserving in any respect. It's just that, if anything, I think even more work needs to begin earlier in the process that we can continue to see a more equitable space as possible. But it's certainly better than it's been. But yeah, I mean, when no one ends up winning after all those nominees, it only goes so far.
Hey, but at least Hamilton got recognized finally, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been worse. They could have had more acting wins. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think Hamilton's finally done, and I like Hamilton. We've talked about Hamilton, but I think Hamilton at award shows is finally done. Hamilton premiered in 2015, and it's finally
I,
over.
I'm gonna let you put the dirt on Hamilton's grave. I'm not ready to say it's done yet. I'm sure it will pop up somehow. But
It's true. They could
anyways,
do a new movie or something, like a new version, a new recording. Oh God, you're right.